In this survey of engineering video, we are going to start the engineering design process, and we'll introduce what that is. We'll start with the first step, which is understanding. So, what's in this video? First, we're going to introduce what the engineering design process is, or the way we like to talk about it. We're going to start the cycle or the process with an example. We're going to investigate how you write a good problem statement and what that means, and what a good design statement is. Here are your portfolio questions to write in your notebook. First is, what is a problem statement? And second, what is a design statement? So let's start with a problem that we'd like to use our engineering process to solve. So our problem that we're going to investigate or start with is, this is Joanne, and she would like to make nice, thick, chewy cookies. Just like that. But every time she tries, her cookies come out thin and crunchy, not the way she would like it. So let's see what we can do to help figure out the problem for Joanne. So she doesn't want the flat, crunchy cookies. We're going to use the engineering design process, and this is the type of process. This is how we think of the engineering design process. We're going to think about it in 4 sections that have 3 steps each section, but the 4 sections really are the important part. And that is, understand the problem, design, create, and then reflect. Now you see arrows going all the way around in a circle, but you also see some cross arrows in the center. Sometimes we don't follow this process just in a complete circle. Sometimes we would need to go back and forth within the process. So first we're going to start with our understand section. Here's where we state what the problem is, we state what we're going to design, and we do some research. So what do we need to do for our cookie problem? Well, first we have to describe the problem. If we don't properly describe the problem, we can't solve it. So the way we describe the problem is to make a problem statement. A problem statement is generally a concise 1 to 3 sentence statement. The really important thing about a problem statement that it must not include assumptions that bias the designer. So it can't include any statements about how to solve the problem. It's just a statement of the problem. Now, in order to get a good problem statement, we may have to do some initial research to really see what the problem is. This may mean that we need to do some reading about the problem, to do some research to really understand what the problem is. This may mean that we need to talk to people or interview the stakeholders. Stakeholders are people who are influenced by the problem, or it will be influenced by what we would design. So let's see what we could do to create a problem statement for the cookie problem. So I've done some research, and I've interviewed stakeholders in this problem. The stakeholders are Joanne, who's going to be making the cookies, anybody who might be eating the cookies, anybody who would be supplying ingredients to Joanne, maybe her oven manufacturer or the suppliers of her equipment that she uses to bake with. After interviewing these cookie problem stakeholders, I find out that the bakeware she uses is widely distributed all over the place, with all kinds of people getting varying results. I find out that she gets her ingredients from a local store, and they're good quality ingredients. I find that I go and look at several different recipes from the internet just to see different ratios of different ingredients that might be used in cookie making. And I find out after talking to Joanne that she bakes her cookies at 5,800 feet above sea level, which is considered pretty high altitude. And I take some cookbooks, look at cookbooks specifically cookbooks that have recipes that include adjustments for high altitude baking. So after doing all of this, now I can write a problem statement for this problem. I can say that Joanne lives at high altitude and cannot make the thick, chewy chocolate chip cookies that she wants. Notice that there is nothing that says what exactly I need to do to solve the problem here. It's just a statement of what the problem is. Next, we need to focus what we're going to do for our design. And that is how the design statement is what does that for us. So in a design statement, we outline what's going to be done during the project to address the problem. And we might have some constraints included here, really important limitations that have to be followed. So our design statement might be different depending on the company we work for or the interests that we have in the problem. If I work for an oven company, I may be redesigning the oven. If I work for a bakeware company, maybe coming up with new bakeware that helps with high altitude cooking is the design that I'm going to be following. And maybe if I'm Joanne or just a friend helping her out, I'm going to look at different recipes, and so maybe it's the method that I need to design instead of any of the equipment. So for our example problem, the design statement that we'll choose is Joanne needs a method for making thick, chewy chocolate chip cookies at high altitude using ingredients available from her local grocery store. So the method part is what focuses our design. We're going to focus on designing a method rather than a new oven or new bakeware or new ways of getting ingredients. And we realize that this method has to work at high altitude. So that would be a constraint that we'd be putting on the method. And we also, after talking with Joanne, realized she doesn't want to go travel long distances to get ingredients or have to order them from expensive places, so they have to be available from her local grocery store. So, summary of what we talked about. We've talked about how engineers find solutions to problems in a methodical way, and the methodical way that engineers use is called the engineering design process. We've talked about what a problem statement is. It's a general statement of the problem and must not bias the design. And what a design statement is. The design statement tells us what we're going to do to address the problem, so it focuses our design. So for next class, answer your portfolio questions, and during class you are going to be practicing writing problem and design statements and brainstorming about problems in your school or your life that we're going to apply the design process to. So be thinking about possibilities or things that you might want to apply the design process to in your life. See you next